Hello, welcome back to my channel. So tonight is the season finale of Love After Lockup, and then Life After Lockup starts next week. And I'm super excited because it's a 2-hour season finale, and their season finales are always super good. So let's talk about Rachel and Doug. So we're going to talk about Rachel and Doug in the last week's episode, but first, just to keep everyone up to date, for all of you who don't know, Doug just got arrested not even a week ago. They raided a house he was staying in and selling drugs out of and running a chop shop out of. And someone made a good point. Remember when I made that video talking about Doug's crazy family, and they were talking about how their neighbors threatened to call the cops on them and was accusing them of running a chop shop? And then they find stolen vehicles and vehicle parts on the property Doug was staying at when he got arrested. And he also had meth, pills, drug paraphernalia, firearms. And Doug ran from the police on his motorcycle and ran into a cop car and pulled out a firearm. So the police showed up to his house because he was absconding from parole since March after he took off his ankle monitor off, and they got a tip from someone that he was there in the house that they raided, and they're also running a chop shop and selling drugs out of the home is what police were told. And I just have one last thing to say before we go to the recap. So there was a bigger YouTuber that was saying Dougie Jr.'s with Rachel. I've asked Rachel myself. She's under NDA and she can't say anything to anyone. And Doug's current girlfriend that he's with said on social media a few weeks ago that Doug Jr. was no longer with Rachel. She wouldn't say exactly where he was, but she said he was no longer with Rachel and he was in a safe place. So we really don't know exactly where Dougie Jr. is. So let's get into Rachel and Doug in the last episode. So she makes breakfast for everyone, and while she's finishing cooking and cleaning up, Doug and Dougie Jr., they ate all the bacon, and they didn't even save a piece for Rachel. And Rachel said that she wanted bacon too, and Doug said, well, next time make more bacon. I'm like, oh my gosh, the audacity of this man. It's like Rachel is the one bringing home all the bacon. He could have at least left her a freaking slice. So Rachel said ever since the big argument with Doug and his family when he went to go visit his family, and his sister told Rachel that Doug would cheat on her in a month, Rachel said she's hoping and praying that Doug isn't a dog like his sister said, but at the same time, Rachel says she knows that sounds super naive. So I mean, Dougie Jr. talked about all the women Doug talked to in prison and how his dad always had multiple girlfriends. Then Doug, he decides to go out with one of his buddies to go ring shopping for Rachel, and even his buddies said that Doug has never been known to just be with one woman. Like they say, if it walks like a dog, barks like a dog, then it might just be a dog. So even though Rachel and Doug got married while he was in prison, Doug wants to give Rachel the wedding of her dreams. So I actually found out from one of the former cast members that Wetv actually pays for the weddings. They pay for the rings, the dress, and all that. So Doug said he was going to get her a $5,000 ring for Rachel, even though he just started working, and said he was going to get help from a few of his friends to pay for it, but we already know Wetv's paying for it. So Doug goes to this jeweler and he picks out Rachel a gorgeous $5,000 ring with a huge rock, and they had a deleted scene that Wetv uploaded to their YouTube channel, and it was actually Rachel going wedding dress shopping, and she actually picked out an absolutely beautiful wedding dress. She looked gorgeous. The first few dresses she tried on, they definitely weren't it, but she finally found one that Rachel and her mother and her friend who she brought wedding dress shopping with her all absolutely loved, and I love the choice she made too. So Doug surprised Rachel and took her to this place, and he got on one knee and proposes to her. And it was funny because when he got on one knee, he was eye level with Rachel's little short self. So Rachel said absolutely she would marry Doug again. Doug says this has been a long journey for him, and he has everything in his hands, from the wife, the kids, the truck, the job, and he can't believe it. So Rachel says Doug proposing to her again in the free world shows he's actually serious about her, because that's something that he didn't have to do because they're already married. And Rachel told producers that she's never been this happy before in her life, and everything feels right for once. So Rachel and Doug, they get in the car, and he starts giggling at his phone like a little schoolgirl, and Rachel asked him what was so funny, and he refused to show Rachel what he was laughing about or even telling her. He was probably laughing like, ha, this girl has no idea, like I got hoes in different area codes. I'm talking to another girl right now. So I saw a spoiler for tonight's episode, and it shows Rachel grabbing her wedding ring and saying, this little thing right here, we're done, and throws her wedding ring in her front yard, and then she loses it. So she starts looking all over her front yard and she can't find it. She's freaking out, and I guess we're gonna have to see the rest of it unfold tonight in the 2-hour season finale. It's gonna be good, folks, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm curious if once the season finale is over, since Rachel and Doug are not going to be in the next season, I wonder if she's going to be able to spill more tea on Doug and talk about where Dougie Jr. is after the season finale tonight. But I do know that they are under NDAs for a while, so I'm not sure she's going to be able to speak out after tonight or when exactly she's going to be able to. But I just have so many questions for her that I'm dying to know. And it looks like Doug's going to be probably getting some serious time for all these charges he has. And obviously, he deserves it. He's not learning his lesson. And obviously, he doesn't care about his kid enough to stay on the straight and narrow. And that's just really sad and heartbreaking. And I do know that Rachel, Deontay are supposed to be flying to Houston, Texas, September 10th through the 12th, and hanging out with Ray, Brittany, and Jenna Shea, and they're supposed to collab and do some videos and other stuff together. So I'm interested to see what all comes about that. But that's it for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe. It's Friday, baby. I hope you all have a great weekend.